Well, hey, it's me. Who told me? The guys with the five eyes that you see. And today, I'm gonna freestyle this one too. I mean, I always freestyle most of my content, but usually I give like a lot of like research into things. But with 39 people being shot in Chicago over the weekend, I really, you know, I just gotta really say it like it is. That there are a lot of black people in a really, really, really tight spot right now. And to be honest, because with the numbers of black crime, they're so large in our percentage when it comes to our population that I really don't truly know how many of us are in a bad situation. Because I want to hesitate to say most black people are in danger of themselves. Well, actually, they are, because most, when it comes to crime, most races commit the most crime against their own race. But like, in particular, black people in America, I'd like to believe that most of us are doing good and are in like at least a moderate situation where we don't have to worry about these things. But I really don't know, because, like I've mentioned in a lot of previous videos, in these bad neighborhoods, areas, ghettos, hoods, whatever you want to call them, there's high crime, but there's really high birth rates and reproduction. And when you consider that, when it comes to black people, we have a lot of underreporting when it comes to things, and we don't really have a lot of documentation medically. uh we'll go to hospitals and be born and stuff, but like, there's just a lot of things that a lot of black people don't report to the census. I know I didn't. And there's a lot of things we don't really keep up with in the community. There are probably a lot more black people out there in a lot of these horrible neighborhoods that we really have counted. And that's just what I think, like, one of the biggest issues is. Like, you can see here in the Chicago's Times title that 4 fatally wounded in Chicago. But it's like I said before, like, literally, for like a dude killed, it's like three babies behind him or something. It's crazy. Um and let's get to reading this for a little bit. So, 4 people were killed and at least 35 others hurt in shootings across Chicago over the weekend. 15 of the shooting victims were wounded in a single attack Sunday during a party. So 15 people got shot on the south side. So the south side of the Chi is famously known as probably the worst part of Chicago. And a fight broke out between 7 people at 4:40 a.m. So they were even shooting during prime time. Dog, people are getting up to go to work at this point. You know what I'm saying? Imagine you get up to go to work at 4 a.m. and get caught by a stray bullet. That don't make no sense. 15 people were struck, ranging from age 20 to 44 years old. 2 people were dead. And a 54-year-old man was fatally shot in Avalon Park apartment. I mean, like, 54, what? Shot several times during an altercation with a 53-year-old woman. Domestic related. So it seems like this lady probably shot him. It does make you wonder, though, like, like how heated was this situation getting. That's particular. Another one here on the west side, 2 people got shot, 1 died. And sitting on the front porch when 2 males walked up and opened fire. 47-year-old one, 50-year-old. And you know what's crazy? Like, these are some old people now. And it also does make me wonder, like, with this shooting, like with like a lot of the, because I know, like, in Chicago, 80s, 90s was really, really bad. And it makes you wonder if there's still a lot of beef going on that has not been settled from those times. Because, real beef kind of lasts forever. And a woman was struck in the torso, so they shot her. Like, they didn't even like, because they shot a woman. And so it's not like they really care who they shooting at anyway. The man was struck in the right leg. Like, what? How bad was their shooting? Where you shot her in the chest, but you got this dude in the leg? Like, was he shooting back? Shot before an apparent DUI crash. What? What's going on? What? What in the world? A male slammed into a parked vehicle. The male and 2 of his passengers were hospitalized in serious condition. Shot 3 times in the abdomen. A male in parked vehicle was found on the ground nearby. Unknown condition. Alcohol related. 13-year-old boys. 4 people shooting. Okay, so I've been basically going on for 5 minutes in this whole article about like some of the shootings, and I mean, dog, these shootings. The thing that's like killing me. Another one at 4:40 a.m. Another something that's killing me about this is like how early these dudes are just like getting it on. I would assume most shootings would happen in the night, like at 12, 11, 10. But a lot of these shootings are happening in the morning, so this is like a 24/7 thing, and it's always been this way. And I would show the video of the whatever, but I think I'll probably link it to like World Star or somewhere if I can find it. But yeah, so the thing that I kind of want a lot of people to understand is that we're probably going to be in a unique situation where things are going to get worse from here. We're going to revert back to 80s, 70s crime rates in America. And in my honest opinion, if you just look at like the visuals of the 70s, man, you can just tell that was a hard time in America just by how like downtrodden things looked and how lowbrow things look. I always wonder like why was so many things wood paneled and boarded, and houses with rooms, wood on the walls, and cars with wood. And it makes me think maybe it's because things are just so cheap, and like after they took the dollar out the gold standard and basically devalued the hell out of the currency, the US was basically just like building shit but super cheap, making profits. Everybody else was barely getting by, having money to do anything, because I know the recession down back then was really bad and gas prices got up really high, and look what we're going through now, recession, gas prices going up high yet again. And the thing about it is, as when the economy gets worse, crime happens. But when you have hyperinflation, which is eventually going to happen to our American dollar, that's pretty much like a doubling, tripling, quadrupling. Basically, however high the inflation is, that's you multiply the issues of poor people by whatever that is. So it could be damn near infinite. If you look at Zimbabwe, you look at Venezuela, they're literally printing $1 trillion bills at this point, and the people there are just dying of starvation. Man, like in Venezuela, they literally robbed the zoo for the animals. These people were eating lion meat. That's how bad it was getting down there. And in America, it can get that bad because, I'm pretty sure for more well-traveled folks, you've been around some areas in America where there's just really nothing going on. They don't really have industry, and they're either not a lot of people that live there, or there are people that live there, but either way, there's like no jobs, or people are not motivated. And for black people, when we tend to get in those situations, unless it's out in the country sticks where no one's really at and people can at least kind of live off the land a little bit, usually these places are places of crime for us in a lot of instances. And black people got to really understand that as we move further down the economic ladder, you're going to have a lot more desperation from folks. These shootings are just going to get worse because when people have no money and then they have less money, they tend to be very irritable. They get depressed, they give up, and they get desperate, and they're willing to do anything to keep them like surviving. But the issue with these kind of shootings, as you see here in Chicago, a lot of these shootings aren't even motivated by money. They're motivated by people's emotions. And this is what I was talking about in my last video about the black malaise. A lot of these people are children. Let's be upfront about it. These people are children. There are a lot of immature black people out there, because when we grow up in our households, we grow up in single mother households a lot. And the thing about growing up with women that aren't really in control of themselves, who grew up by another woman solely, is that women are emotional creatures. Left to their own devices, there's no cap on their emotion. That's why it's so important for a man to be in the house, because a man caps a woman's emotion. If she gets hyper emotional, his job is to stop her. The same way when a man gets a bit too logical and gets like less willing to take risk, her job is to like give him that extra motivation, and sometimes to be like, F it, you can do it, baby. Just do it. You know? And because there's not that dynamic in the household, these women are basically kids raising their kids. And if you've ever been a kid, which we all have, and you've ever had a childhood, you would know that it's really hard for a lot of kids to be leaders of other kids. You know, there's a reason why they say natural born leader, because for a lot of kids, they have a hard enough time governing themselves. So you talking about, let me unplug my headphones. You talking about governing other children, it's not going to work, because they're too emotional. They don't know when to stop and look at themselves, or to like know how to really get the other child to stop and look at themselves. And so because we grow up in those kind of environments, when we become adults, we have a hard time controlling our own emotions. And you end up with these situations where like these people scream and yell at each other and then feel the need to fight and shoot each other. And it's kind of pointless. That stuff is pointless. Because when you think about it, these are more than likely, most of the time, it's people you vaguely know or kind of know. And a lot of these instances we see here in this article, it's a lot of people domestically know each other. But for the most part, if you know this person and you beefing that hard, you don't have to talk to them again. You don't have to know them. The thing about black people is, like, we take pride in our we overvalue ourselves. Let's be honest. A lot of these people take too much pride in themselves and think, oh, this person can't talk to me like that. But it's just like, what does it matter? If a person says, fuck you, bitch nigga, okay. If someone tells me that, bitch ass nigga, I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, am I a bitch ass nigga? Maybe. But I don't want to get in a fight for no reason or get shot or stabbed. And especially with how emotional niggas are these days, man, I'm not trying to shoot no fair ones, you know, because they aren't going to do it. Or at least I'd have to assume they are. And black people have this issue. We think that we always have to get the last word about everything. Because again, we grow up with women, and you know that's like a common stereotype about women. They always got to have the last word, and they don't be quiet. And it leads to these kind of situations because a lot of black people also, they're stuck in the malaise. They don't really think about their future. You give most black people a job. Well, you give most people a job, they're satisfied. But in the black community, we think that's special, you know, when really, I mean, it shouldn't be. It should just be a way of life. But we you know, we get a job, and when we're in the hood and stuff, it's just like, well, that's it. And that's the best of life. You know, if you know a lot of hood people, a lot of times they're not really that creative. I mean, they can be emotionally intelligent and pretty wise in some retrospects, but creativity, like, you know, they're not the kind of people to really think outside the box about much, you know. Just being honest. And another thing I wanted to get to on here, I was also looking at this news report, and this guy was talking about the police. And I'm going to just let him say what he got to say, and I'm just going to tell you what I think about it.
The police are only there to respond. Even though there is a police station a couple blocks away, even though police should have been knowing of this party hours before the situation happened, we know that they know nothing because they never have a plan, because their plan is to only respond.
Okay. So, what do I gotta say about that? Um, I will say he has a point, but there's the thing. The police in Chicago have always been corrupt. They've been corrupt for a while. And the best real situation that the black community of Chicago can honestly have is like neighborhoods self-governing themselves with their own police force. I mean, but the issue is, what a lot of kids, I mean, there's such an anti-police culture there, that as soon as people start noticing that whatever that force is trying to police the neighborhoods, as soon as they see they're just regular black dudes, they probably gonna get popped. I'm just saying, and it'd be an all-out civil war. But when you also think about it too, like for one, that guy definitely knows the police are corrupt. But for two, you gotta understand that a lot of these in places like Chicago, there is so much crime. It is so much. Now, some an event like this should be priority, but when he said like they should have known about this party, yada yada, it's like, okay, what? Police should have. You think police really gonna be like checking for this party? If you guys didn't hire, police protection, they're not really focused on that, because guess what? Everybody is shooting everybody all over your city. And that's what I like about these community activists, man. It's just blank. It's like, first you want to defund the police, then it's like, okay, it's the police fault these people shot each other. It's like, which one are you going to go with? I mean, 39 shootings over the weekend. Do you know how thinly stretched they probably are? Like, because literally, shooting here, you got to go here. 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 You know what I'm saying? How it's impossible. You can't cover all of that. All these black people shooting each other. And you know why they're shooting each other like this? Because they know at least they have a certain amount of time to get away. And depending on where and who they're shooting, they might be able to get away with it still. Even in this era of like surveillance. Because there's a lot of shootings that happen and the cases just go cold. Because no one's going to tell. And, and sometimes these guys are really good at wiping the evidence and dipping off. And then a lot of times the police is just like, it's just too much resource and time to really check all this out. So I really can't, I can't completely agree with the dude. Like, I do agree that the police, like, knowing how Chicago is, like, the police probably, I'd assume they probably could have been a bit more reactive, because with that many people getting shot, you never know. That could turn into, as we've seen in Orlando and Las Vegas, that could turn into another genocide for all we know. But at the same time, man, your community is horrible. Don't even think about the police at this point, because we love to say F the police and we can't trust the police anyway. So really, they're only marginally dependable. The real way to combat this is essentially, it's gotta be Wild Wild West, Bushido era Japan out there. Everybody who's just a regular person needs a gun. Everybody gotta have a gun, and then everybody gotta be ready to pop, like at any cost. Like, essentially, there are so many criminals and so much crime in Chicago, and I'm just using Chicago. I know there's probably a lot of places everywhere, like Detroit. There are so many of these criminals. They're essentially like bandits. And as you know, if you've seen a lot of Wild West westerns, or like you see, a lot of Japanese called media, a lot of the everyday person would have weaponry on them, because you had to be prepared for a random somebody to just roll up on you, because during these times, you can very easily get killed and the person gets away with it, especially if they're roaming. If a lot of these Chicago niggas, they're vagrants and they're nomads. A lot of these dudes literally will be in one place, sleep on this couch to the next couch. They all, buy out some apartment, and it's like a 2-bedroom, with 4 niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause a lot of these dudes don't be having money. They be staying at their mama's place and they be hanging out all day on the block. You know, back in those times, a dude shoots you, kills you, takes all your cash. Nobody finds you for the next 2-3 days, and by that point, he's already in the next town. You know? So we have to be really in an environment where a lot of these people have to think twice, because now anybody can pop you. You know, you try to rob a car, oh man, I might get shot. You know, you try to stick up an old lady, I might get shot. And it seems like people really do be strapped in Chicago, as we've seen with the domestic dispute murder that we went over. The 53-year-old lady probably shot that dude. But then here's the next thing that makes this that much more of a struggle. And it's the fact that a lot of these dudes really don't care, regardless of whether you're strapped or not. I think that's probably the thing that's going to just make everything dangerous for everybody, because a lot of these dudes be shooting at their quote unquote ops and everything, and they expect, you know, gunfire and stuff. So they really aren't gonna, I'd have to assume they really wouldn't care if everyone's strapped. It might make them feel more justified in doing their crimes and everything. But at some, like, I don't know, at some point, as a city like this, mayor, you really got to think to yourself, like, the damage is irreversible, and we can definitely look at the white supremacist organization. I don't know, I'll just say white supremacy. White supremacy put us in position for all this to happen, because as a lot of people should know, about up until the 60s, black people were the most married. We had the tightest family bonds, and because we were all so close as a family, us being poor was much more manageable, because if you've got a big family, even if you're poor, you guys can support each other. It's like that Jay-Z line, you know, some we be each other's crutches. I don't know, but basically what he was saying is, if I got you and I got me, like, we can't really be down bad like that. If you want to try this experiment physically, you know, get you in a group, get 4 chairs, and basically each one of you guys lay down on the dude's knee and make a square. When you lift the chairs from under people, then they all end up supporting each other. And I'll show you a physical example of that. 4-man chair, I guess is the challenge. Okay, and let me mute this really quick in case there's music. Okay, now you see here, they're about to get into their chairs, getting into place. She lays there, she lays there, she lays there, and he lays there. Okay, they're set up in place, and then they're gonna pull the chairs from under them. See that? See that? See? This is what black people used to be. That's how black communities used to be. And, you know, you had your pockets here and there that were really bad. Quincy Jones would tell you Chicago been bad since forever. That dude said back in the 30s, he used to just see people stabbed up in a ditch. So Chicago probably has always been a lost cause. But for the majority of black history up to that point, we had strong family values. So that will make up for our lack of economic leverage. But because of that, if you think about it, people got freed from slavery in like the 1870s, 80s, and there were already black millionaires by the 1900s. That's incredible. And I think I read another thing where, like, our literacy rate jumped like 60-75% nationally. So as soon as black people were free, we got busy, and because we were together, you know, I'm pretty sure that helped supported a lot of black men and women into having more economic leverage. But we don't have that now. Like now our families are disjointed, and even if they seem together, they really aren't. I know countless amounts of black people where you would expect their family to be completely supportive, but for whatever reason, they're disjointed in the weirdest places. And like we see a lot in the black community, the black men and women, no, usually the black men who go out and, do the right thing in life, they kind of get looked at as, oh, we expected you to do that, so you don't really need no help. But watch him go to jail a couple times, and he always got a place to stay at grandmama's house, or auntie's house. The black women, they go to school, but they don't really get helped out with the tuition, and a lot of them end up in debt for a lot of things. And they get pushed to go to a lot of these big schools with big tuitions, and no one really tries to, they just can't really help them out in any kind of way, thus making their education fruitless when they can't do nothing with it. So we've got a problem here that's been stretching nationwide, because crimes have been going up. And when crimes are going up nationally across the board, you've got to put it like a ×2 for the black community. And we're in a really precarious situation here, because economically things are going to get worse. So people are going to get more desperate. People are going to get more emotional. And that also includes, it goes back to the reproduction thing, because a lot of poorer people in this country, they tend to reproduce more often. And I'm definitely not saying they shouldn't be reproducing, because that's a natural right, and it's a natural imperative. But when you're in a state where you don't really care about much and you don't own much, having sex is usually one of the best things you can achieve, because it's something that if you got the right kind of game, you can get it for free. And it can even come with some incentives, like a place to stay. And you're going to have a lot of people, a lot of women getting desperate, trapping men, trying to get a baby daddy for something, or trying to get some child support. You got a lot of men who end up, being a hobosexual, using the chick for their ride at their crib. Trust me, I know some niggas like that. And again, what's that's going to do? That's going to produce children. They're going to get raised by children, and they're going to stay acting like children for the rest of their lives. They'll recycle into that black malaise. So yeah, this is really hard, and I can't really. Another thing the guy was talking about was like, we need solutions and this and that, and we definitely do need solutions, but we're dealing with people that are like, it's like guerrilla warfare. Like we're dealing with like some legit insurgents. These dudes are, they don't have the real fear of death that a regular person has, and they're much more willing to commit acts of desperation. These people have no education, they have no assets, they don't have much to live for. So to die is kind of like whatever to them. At least it ain't here. That's a really hard mentality to combat, because there's no will for you to break. If we can't break these people's will, it's really hard to touch them. And it's such a complicated situation because of that. I can't even provide my own solution to that specific problem. But what I can say, and what I've always been saying on this channel, is that those of you black people, those of you that are doing better, and even if you're doing bad, you're trying to do better, if those of you black people that move forward, keep moving forward, because these people will be stuck where they are, and in a lot of areas they will be moved eventually from those places. And if you're stuck there as well, you may be displaced as well, you may be stuck there, but I promise you, if you do what you can to go forward, that means educating yourself on something, not just going to school, but truly being educated, learning a skill, or maneuvering your workplace to move up in case you don't really want to have to work with a trade or something. Then at least find an area or a company you can move up in, or may even pay nicely out the gate. Do not have children that you cannot afford. And if you will have children and you can afford it, always have a backup. Always have some kind of savings. Always keep your money. Try to make your money work for itself to a degree. It don't matter if you only earn $5 a month in interest in something. At least you're having something that compounds on to what you earn. You know? But when you ain't got nothing and you broke, don't try to have kids, man. Because it's a good chance it will keep you there. And if you don't want to be there, now you have to work so much harder. And now there's even more on the line, just like that. You know? Be around people you like and be around people that you love. If you feel like you gotta do something desperate, understand, remember this, you're in America at the very least. And even if America is really bad and is going to get even worse, it's better than 90% of the other countries you could be in on this planet. So as desperate as you may feel, you're still in a country with more opportunities than others. So do not turn to crime. The worst thing you can do is crime. Because crime is a cyclical thing. Most criminals stay criminals, for the most part. And you don't want to be into that, because that's the kind of life where everything could go wrong and only a few things go right. Especially these days with all the security and surveillance, it's really not worth it. So yeah, I hope everybody listening to this is safe. Jesus. I will get all these notifications at the end. But I hope everybody out there is safe that's listening to this. I hope you guys stay safe. And yeah, so hopefully the next thing I report on isn't as depressing as this. Anyways, toodaloo.